Danian Rios, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 11 of Ambiance podcasts. Danian Rios right here is the co-founder and co-owner of Arm the Animals clothing brand. And I'm super excited to have him on, especially because he used to be one of my football coaches back in high school. And I got to see the progression from when you first started it to where it's at now, and that's why I'm super excited to have you on.
Yeah, I think like you received some of the first shirts we ever printed, right? This
Yep.
was back in like 2010, late 2010.
Yeah, just the OG gorilla with like the machine gun,
Yeah,
and then you gave it out to a few of my friends and like a few of the players around school, and then it kind of caught on quickly. Like a lot of people were asking me. I remember like, "Oh, where'd you get that shirt?
Man.
That's sick." And I'm just like, "Oh, my coach gave it to me." I didn't know like the meaning behind it. I was just like, "Oh, it's just a shirt." Like it looks pretty cool. But I mean, it's cool to see like the meaning behind the brand now too.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, thank you for having me. By the way, I know that I'm the oldest guest you've had on by far, so I appreciate making the cut, man. Thank you.
No, yeah, definitely. It's okay. There's no age limit to anybody who wants to be on Ambiance. So
Very cool.
yeah, but yeah, we're gonna get into all about like ATA and the whole story and mission behind it, because it has a really interesting purpose, and I think it's important for people to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to start from the beginning and kind of talk about what it is that made you who you are today, as an entrepreneur you are today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I want to start from when you were younger. So when you were a child, in your early childhood,
Mm-hmm.
were there any signs or indications of you getting into entrepreneurship, or how was being a child, like how's your childhood experience in general?
So my childhood, man, it was kind of a duality, man. It was awesome. I had a great family. You know, my parents were good people, but you know, it was also really fucked up at the same time.
Really?
Really fucked up at the same time. So like, you know, we moved around a lot. I think I counted by the time I was like 21, we'd moved like 19 times. And
Oh shit.
yeah.
Why did you move so many times?
Wow, this is a long story. But well, my parents just they were entrepreneurs, and they were just kind of hustlers, man. My dad was into organized crime, you know, and
Wow.
he actually had a legitimate business as well, but he was also in organized crime. So he, you know, he was always just trying to hustle. And, you know, when I was up until I was 10, we had moved like 4 or 5 times. And then when I was 10, my dad actually went to jail for 5 years. And I was with my mom, and we continued to move around. So like, you know, we were broke a lot, dude. We were really, really poor. Like my first memories of being a child is I was like 5 or 6, and I remember being living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and you know, my mom slept on the couch, and me, my brother Rigo, my brother Ramon, and my sister Lisa, we shared the 1-bedroom in this 1-bedroom apartment. And you know, those are my first early memories. And then, you know, we moved like 6 months after that, and then 6 months after that, and basically we would con our way into like getting into a house, and then
Wow.
we wouldn't pay rent for like 6 months, and then we get kicked out. So like, yeah,
Shit.
we moved around a lot. But you know, throughout that, you know, my parents were good people, and they always instilled, you know, we were always loved. We always knew we were loved, and we always knew that you know, we were made to believe that we can achieve anything we wanted to achieve. So self-esteem wasn't an issue for us. Like they always just made us feel special, made us understand that, you know, you have to work hard for things, and that you have to believe in yourself and have confidence in yourself that you can achieve anything. So, you know, it's a lot of cliche bullshit, but I mean, it made a difference, man. It made us really truly believe that we could accomplish a lot. And you know, when I was young, I remember like my older brothers. I have a sister that's 12 years older than me. My brother Rigo's my sister Liza is 12 years older than me. My brother Rigo is 10 years older than me. My brother Ramon's 8 years older than me. So my earliest memories were my older brother Rigo waking up at like 5 a.m. and he was like 15 years old, and he was taking a bus for 2 hours from East LA all the way to La Puente to go to high school at Bishop Amat. And he was a freshman.
Wow.
And yeah, man, it was crazy. So like, I mean, back then I didn't realize what was going on, but as I got older, you know, he went on to, you know, play football at USC, and he became
really?
a huge success. Yeah, he does really well. And
Is that why you're such a USC fan now?
yeah, man. I grew up watching SC as a kid, so
Okay.
obviously, yeah. But and then my other brother Ramon got a wrestling scholarship to Cal State Fullerton. My sister Lisa went on to FITM, become an interior designer. So like we all had aspirations to do good things, but we grew up in this environment where normal people would have thought it was impossible, but unless our parents instilled those ideals that anything is possible for us, I don't think that we would have made it out the way that we did, because it was super volatile. It was fucked up.
Yeah. For some reason, I feel like people who have fucked up childhoods seem to be the most successful people alive.
Yeah, it's like it's an overcompensation, right? So like for me, like I always knew I was going to make a lot of money at a young age, and I didn't know how, I didn't know why, I just believed it. I believed, I'm going to be successful, and I'm not going to grow up the way that I grew up. And it's kind of funny, like I played football at South Hills High School. I went to college, and when I got back, I started working for my brother, and he had his mortgage company and finance company, and as soon as I got there, I just created like this presence for myself, and I did really well really fast. I think within the first like 6 years, I'd made over $1 million. So like,
Shit.
Yeah. So from the time I was like 23 to 28, I was doing really well. And a lot of that was just being driven, man. Obviously, like a lot of people made money in that time. It was like the early 2000s. So it was like the wild, wild west of finance, and a lot of people made a lot of money. But I remember just working my ass off and just knowing that I didn't want to repeat my childhood,
Yeah.
But that leads me into like the next side of things is like losing everything. I lost all my money, not in the real estate market, honestly. It's kind of funny. My brother at the end of 2006, he had called me and said, "Hey, it's time to get out of the market. You need to sell your houses. You need to downsize your company." And I did that.
What was it? What feelings or like thoughts ran through your head when he said that to you?
I was ready, man. I was I was ready to move on. I was ready. I kind of had like an early midlife crisis at 28. Tony Robbins said something. He said that there's nothing scarier than achieving everything you want to achieve and still feeling empty inside. And that was really kind of what I went through. Like when I was 28, I remember it like it was yesterday, man. I was sitting in I had this big ass house in Via Verde just up the street. Like I had bought my house for like $1 million, 1.2, yeah. And I always had people over. I was young and I was having fun partying, and I had a bunch of people over, and I was sitting upstairs in my room, and everyone else was downstairs, and I had this view of the entire valley, and I'm looking out there, and I'm just like, for some reason, man, I just wasn't fulfilled. I didn't feel good about where I was in life. And it's so strange because here I am, a million miles from where I'd come from, being poor and not having enough to really sustain yourself as a person, to having like abundance and everything you want, and you find out you get whatever you want, and now it's like you're not happy and not fulfilled. So I think it had to do with my vocation. So I wasn't happy in finance. I was like, this is not me. And I remember sitting there thinking, you know what, you're going to have to lose all this to become a better version of yourself. And it's really strange, man.
Yeah.
At the time I was reading a lot, I didn't finish a book front to back until I was like 25, and it's embarrassing to say, but I really didn't. And then when I finished my first book, I think I read like 200 books in the next like 3 years.
Wow. Yeah. What do you think like caused you to do that? Was there like a light switch that went off of like, I've been missing out on something?
Yeah, I think that, what's really funny is I saw a movie called The Secret. You ever see that movie?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So I saw a movie called The Secret, and it resonated with me, but at the same time I thought it was bullshit, and I thought it was like just amazing marketing because you can't just think things into existence. And well, I can only speak to my own personal belief systems and whatnot.
I want to hear it.
Yeah. So I thought that I saw the movie and I'm like, it resonated with me because I thought, okay, this is something that I've done my entire life, whether it was with, being successful as an entrepreneur or, girls or football or whatever it was. Like I visualized a lot, and I know that there was a correlation between, your beliefs and your visualizations and the things that you achieve in your life. So I knew there was something to it, but the movie, it really fell short because I thought, you know what, this is just this is just superficial bullshit. Like, you can't think about, oh, I want a big house, so I'm going to get a big house. I think there has to be some more substance to it. So I started reading all kinds of stuff, man. I started reading, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and you start digging in like Ernest Holmes and all these great authors, and you start seeing this messaging. And I came across this book called The Master Key System by Charles Hannell, and it was really kind of like the origin of the idea of like the law of attraction or thought process and whatnot. And it kind of basically what I took from it all was that, like, you can't just want money or want those things for the sake of having them. I think that there has to be some kind of like bigger messaging attached to it, or bigger goal attached. Like, you have to want to provide abundance for other people or the world around you. And for me, I was just being really selfish, and I was just trying to just stack as many chips as I could just so I could be cool, and buy cool shit, and I knew that wasn't really who I was, and I had really become someone that, I was super arrogant. I was young, man. Like, I was 25, 26. I was making like $500,000 a month or a year. And I was like, I thought I was so cool. And at the end of the day, though, I knew that that's not where it came from. That's not like what my parents raised me to be, or my brothers and my sister. It's not who they wanted me to be. And I just felt really empty. So I remember sitting up there in that office and just thinking, like, dude, there's more to life than this. And I felt like I was able to offer more than just what I was doing. And so to answer your question, man, sorry I go on tangents.
No. I love that story.
So to answer your question, man, I knew that there was something else that I needed to do. And when my brother called me, I was ready to try something different. And I did. And I downsized my real estate company. I had a branch of his company here in Covina. And I had like 25 employees, and I downsized it, and I was ready to get out. So I sold, like 10 properties total, but I sold like 8 of them. I kept 2 of them. I kept the 2 I probably shouldn't have. I kept my big ass house, and I liquidated everything. So I had a good amount of capital, and I decided to pivot. And in 2001 or 2, I had a good friend, my buddy Aaron Feldman, who had a production company, and he had asked me to invest in his company. So I invested in his company, and they were doing like web videos, or actually no, they weren't doing web videos. They were doing like music videos. They were doing commercials and whatnot. And so I invested like $75,000 in his company. So I owned a part of his company. And when this whole transition started taking place, I had actually found a friend of mine that I hadn't seen since like the early years of college. And I was like 28 at the time. And he worked in marketing for Epitaph Records, and he's my business partner now. His name is Matt Heinemeier.
Okay, so that's how you guys linked up together.
We linked back up together. So he was best friends with my best friend. So they went to Cerritos College together. I went to Cerritos for a semester. I met Matt. We all became good friends. Okay. And then we lost touch when we went away to school, and we lost touch for like 6 years. And then he found me on MySpace.
MySpace.
Yeah, this is back in the day. I'm dating myself now for sure. But so he found me on MySpace, and he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" So I said, "Hey, come to the crib. Like, I've got this, big house. Let's hang out." So he came over, and I only think he left for like a month, dude. Like, I literally had like a 5-bedroom house on the top of a hill, and like we just partied for like a month straight. And
damn.
And like, yeah, finally, like, he's like, "Dude, I gotta go home." But we rekindled a friendship, and he was at Epitaph Records, and he was at a point where he really wanted to do something different. He felt the same way. He was like an impasse in his life, and he wanted to do something different. And it was right when I had started downsizing and liquidated all my properties, and I had money. So I we started talking, and he showed me this website one night, and it was a website called Rever. And it was right in like 2006, 2007, right when like YouTube had just been bought for $1 billion, and the ability to stream video online was really kind of just taken off. And I saw this site Rever, and they were like monetizing like viral videos. And I thought, I'm kind of crazy sometimes. I'm like, dude, let's start a company, and let's just like make funny ass videos, and let's see if they can go viral, and we'll just create tons of content, and let's see what we can do.
There's so many businesses like that now.
Well, now, yeah.
Channels?
Yeah, there's tons of channels now, but like Rever was like one of the first ones that was offering like a decent CPC. So, we're like, he's like, fuck it. I'm like, dude, I'll pay you like $5,000 a month or $4,000 a month. And I mean, I had money. I'm like, I'll pay you $4,000 a month. Let's start a company. He's like, okay. So then obviously I made the connection between him and then my buddy Aaron, who had the production company. I'm like, here's what we want to do. This is kind of like the model that we see, kind of taking off. And Aaron was on board, Matt was on board. And then I had another buddy named Adi Attar who we brought on. And, the four of us started a company called Crash TV. And it was awesome. So
Crash TV, that sounds kind of familiar. Why does that sound familiar?
It's probably been used a million times since. But Crash TV was basically a web video destination where we were filming. We were doing like influencer marketing before it really existed. So we were filming content with some of the bigger names on MySpace, and we're having them push the content to their following, and then by proxy they were coming back to our website. So and then we were trying to drive ad dollars through visitors. So it was a great model, and it's like the normal model now, but back then it was kind of like it was new, and it got really big really fast, man. Like we got a lot of interest from a lot of different companies. We started working with like some big up and coming talent at the time, and it took off pretty quickly, but it wasn't making tons of money, and I was kind of footing the bill for it. But we had great people, man. We had really good people attached. It was myself and Matt, who now we have Arm the Animals. My buddy Aaron Fellman, he just finished his first feature film. And then Adi, he created, after we all kind of, dispersed, he created Paradigm Sports. And now he's Conor McGregor's manager.
What?
Yeah,
really?
Dude, yeah. Adi's a special guy.
So you guys all went on to do some pretty big things.
Yeah, man. I think that we had a great team, and, and obviously the company grew quickly. And then in 2009, the entire economy of the country collapsed. 2008, the economy collapsed, and we were just kind of trudging along, and I was hemorrhaging money. Like my mortgage company was costing me like $20,000 a month. Wow. Crash TV was costing me like $30,000 a month. Shit. And I was just I ran through all my money, and I was just flat broke. And it got to the point where like I had to short sell my house in San Dimas, and it's funny. It's like self-fulfilled prophecy, though, right? Because you go back to the point where I was in that room in my house knowing, like, I have to lose all this in order to become a better version of myself. So, obviously, like, I probably did it to myself subconsciously, you know?
Spoke it into existence?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like, so, like, I don't know if that is the case, but I have to think there's something to it. Because, like, I felt like my whole life, every decision I made was fucking awesome, and everything turned to gold for so long. Like, I made so many right decisions for so long. And I don't know, it might have been a product of the market, obviously, and a product of the time. But even when I was in high school, like, I was in the right place at the right time a lot of times. Right. And then all of a sudden you go into this portion of your life where everything you touch turns to shit, So obviously I did something, at some point.
Yeah. So you went from making over $1 million in your early to mid 20s to starting all types of different shit with the capital that you built, and linking up with Matt and your other buddy. What was his name?
Aaron and Adi.
Aaron and Adi, and then just losing it all.
Yeah.
So
basically, yeah.
What was your mindset like at that point in your life?
At that point in my life, I was scared. When you start to, I think that when you start to see, things kind of go, like, first it's like the car, and you're like, then it's, your bank account's starting to dwindle. Like, I think that you get really guarded, and I think that you get fearful. And I think that that's a very dangerous place to be, because I think the vibrational frequency that you're putting out there is just fear and lack, and that's all you're attracting to you. So it's like this huge snowball, and then you have to hit rock bottom. And when you hit rock bottom and you have nothing left to lose, then I think that your vibrational frequency changes. It shifts because you have nothing left to lose. So I had gotten to that point. And, obviously I was depressed, but I kind of knew that it was all kind of self-fulfilled prophecy at the same time. So it's kind of, it was a struggle, man. But, I thought, what, I got to get rid of all this shit. So, dude, I short sold my house, and I made a deal with the guy buying the house for me that he would buy everything in the fucking house.
What?
Yeah. I'm like, I wanted nothing, dude. I wanted to leave everything. I wanted to leave that life behind me. So
wow. He
gave me like $50,000 cash. And he bought everything inside my house, the entire house, and I fucking left. I took like...
You sold the house for $50,000 too, or just everything inside of it?
No, I sold the house for like $800,000.
Oh shit! Like that. Okay, and then everything inside it was $50,000.
Yeah, but I had taken a loss on the house. I owed more than what I had sold it for, so I was upside down there. I wasn't going to take any cash from that, but he gave me like $50,000 for everything in the house. So I moved to Pasadena and just kind of licked my wounds, man. Just, I just kind of try to piece my life back together. And, I was depressed, but at the same time, I knew that was all part of the process. And it's really strange looking back now because you realize, like, I was cognizant as to what was taking place. Like, I knew, like, this was part of what I had asked for and what I had, brought into my experience. So, like, I had to be okay with it, but at the same time, it hurt, But, little by little, I kind of started piecing my life back together. And then I got back into the mortgage industry, which I fucking hated. It was brutal. And then in 2009, my buddy Matt, his sister passed away, and she was a huge animal advocate. And after she passed away, he started making designs, and he approached me and he said, "Hey, dude, like, do you want to help me start a company, and we'll sell T-shirts and we'll donate back to animal rescues?" And I said, "Yeah, dude, let's try it out and see. It sounds like fun." I wanted to do something that would be for a good cause and be fun. And I said, I signed up with him. So, and it was funny because we were both like really broke at the time. And I remember he turns to me one night, it's like, 12 a.m. and he's like, "Dude, Arm the Animals." He's like, "I really like that name." He's like, "It's available." And dude, I had an Amex, and I think I had like $38 left on it.
What?
And I just took it out of my pocket and I threw it at him. Like, "Dude," I'm like, "buy the URL." And he's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, fuck it. Let's see what we can do." So he,
oh my God, that's
so he bought the URL, and we printed up like 1,000 shirts, and we started kind of selling them at like Roseville flea markets and different flea markets, and we kind of evolved from there. But my brother Rigo, it's kind of funny how it all kind of happened. But we bought the URL, and we were going to start producing T-shirts, and my brother came out to my apartment that I was living at in Pasadena, and we went to dinner. And he's like, "Dude," he's like, "So what are you gonna do next?" Because he knows me, and he knew like I had found success early on, and he thought that I would figure out a way to do it again. And I told him about the T-shirt company, and my family, like, they support you no matter what the fuck, like no matter what I did, they were always like, they had my back. They always believed in me.
That's dope to have.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's kind of why I'm even sitting here today, So he just said, he's like, "Dude," he's like, "I love it." He's like, "I want to help." He's like, "I'll give you some seed money. You guys set up the company, set up the LLC." And, he gave us, I think he gave us like $5 or $6 grand to start. And we got our first shirts printed, and it kind of like took off from there. And then over the next, year and a half, we were going to like, dude, it was hard, man. It was fucking really hard. We were going to like, we were working, and then we were also doing like the T-shirt thing.
Because that was, at this point, ATA was kind of like a side hustle type of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, so we were just, like, I knew what it could be. Like, we knew it could be, a big company. We just didn't know what it could be exactly.
But in no way was it paying the bills at all.
No way. No way. In fact, I think that was one of our bigger mistakes. Was we were like a year and a half in, and the company wasn't able to support us, but it was big enough to where it needed more attention. So we were kind of at that crossroads. And I remember my brother said, "Hey, look, man, you guys are growing this thing to the point where you need to consider, diving in full time." So
that must have been scary.
For me, I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll do it." So
Never mind.
Yeah, no, because I hated
10 toes down.
Yeah, I hated what I was doing. So I thought, like, I think that like my biggest strength and my biggest weakness is just having too much faith in myself. Like where like I can make this work, and then to a fault.
That's a blessing to have in disguise, I guess.
Yeah. So I dove in, and Matt, it was tough to kind of get him over to the full-time aspect, just because he had a great job. Like he had gone, and Matt's a genius, dude. He's a super smart guy. So like he landed a job, no problem. He was making like $80,000 a year as a marketing director at a robotics company. And he was like, "Dude, I don't know if I want to leave my job. This is going to be..."
Because he has a lot more to lose at that point. Right?
For sure. Yeah.
So at that point, did you guys like weigh the risk and the reward, or did you kind of just say like, was it an educated decision to go all in, or was it?
For me, it wasn't. For him, it was.
Okay.
For me, I'm more emotional. So, I just, I can make this work. Let's go. Like, and I jumped in, and then, it took a while to get him to see it have the potential to, possibly be something bigger. So then, he jumped in. So
that's a good partnership between you and him to have. I mean, it sounds like you guys kind of complement each other as far as just like how you guys make decisions.
Complete balance, man. Complete balance. He's more conservative. I'm more just, I
Fuck
guess
it,
more
let's do
liberal.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So more liberal with my approach, but we do balance each other out, and it's been a journey, man. Like there's been times it's been tough. Like AT almost went out of business like 15 times, 20 times along the way.
Really?
You get to those Fridays and payrolls due, and you're like, fuck, I can't take any money from this place. And that happened.
You gotta eat paychecks.
Yeah. I mean, that's just part of owning a company. Like everyone gets paid first, and then there became a time in like 2014, 15 where we had to let people go and we downsized, and then we had to regroup and figure shit out, and it's been crazy, man. It's been a crazy journey with our company.
Right. Yeah. I mean, talk about that from like as far as building the brand aspect of it, like how important it is to have a meaning behind your brand, right? Because it sounds like in the beginning it was to honor Matt's sister, right? And that was the whole purpose of it. And you guys had a meaning and a why of starting your brand. And I feel like there's a lot of brands and companies out there that do start businesses and brands that don't really have that why or that meaning behind it, that purpose, and it ends up failing or like going downhill.
No, I think cause marketing's huge, man. I think that especially millennials with you guys, like you guys are more willing to spend money with a brand that's giving something back to the world around you. So I think it does go a long way, and it makes people more willing to support your brand if it does stand for something. So I do think I think it's the new business model. I think every company that starts, there's somewhere in your margin where you can afford to give something back to the world around us. And if you don't, then I don't know if that's the best approach, because you should.
Yeah. So at this point, you started it. You've just decided to dive all in, quit whatever full-time, daytime job you had before prior to that.
Yeah.
I know you said that you guys thought about quitting. I mean, going out of business multiple times, right?
Yeah. So it was I don't want to say it was a big mistake, but it was fucking hard. It was hard. It was hard because we couldn't even sustain ourselves, and that puts a strain on your ability to be creative. It puts a strain on your ability to think straight. Like you start doing things out of desperation, you dig bigger holes for yourself, but at the same time it forces you to become really good at a lot of things because you can't afford to outsource them. So, looking back, was it hard? Yes. Was it necessary? Absolutely. We struggled a lot, but it forced us to learn how to build a business from the ground up, and it forced us to get really good at a lot of things, and it forced our team to get really good at a lot of things because, we didn't have the resources to go out and hire, agency X or agency Z to try and come on and help us out. So we became great at digital marketing. We became great at social media marketing. We became great at production, fulfillment, all the different aspects of business. And it behooved us because now we're in a position to where we're able to do those things for other companies. And we've been getting approached by other companies hiring us to do the same things we did for ATA for their companies. And I think that's like the next iteration of our business model is going to be doing just that,
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into that for sure. But I think it's so important for people to hear out there that you have to start doing things that you may not be comfortable with doing, right? Like I'm sure all these skills that you've acquired over the course of time, like some of them you didn't like doing, right? And a lot of it with me is just like, even with this podcast or what I'm starting with Ambiance, I didn't know how to video edit. I didn't know how to schedule. I didn't know how to do a lot of these things that entail and that come with podcasting. But like you said, I can't afford to outsource it. So it's like, if I'm going to go all in, I got to learn how to do it. And I feel like people out there who are looking to start whatever business or brand that they're trying to get into, just because you're not comfortable with trying to acquire a certain skill set, it really hinders them, and like you said, you have to just kind of go all in and learn how to do it. And now, last thing about this is there's no like reason nowadays not to do it. There's YouTube, there's Google.
Oh, dude, it's insane. Yeah, you can learn anything you want to learn. And, I think that the main thing that I learned, was there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to, finding success. In this, I can only speak to my own opinion. I know there's people that have stumbled ass first into plenty of success. But, for me, I don't think there's a shortcut. And I think that, we live in a society where you're on social media and people are on Instagram and they're fucking laying across a Lambo that's not theirs. And they're, they're living their best life via via social media.
They call it clout chasing. That's what they call it.
Yeah. I mean, and people think like, and it makes you start doubting yourself. Like if I wasn't older and I hadn't gone through the experiences I've gone through, I would actually see that shit and believe it, and it would make me depressed. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of younger kids right now, is they're seeing so and so that's only 2 years older than them, and they've got all this success, and why don't I have it? And for me, like all that does is create more fear and lack, and all you do is promote that, and then you receive more of that back. So you kind of almost have to silence the noise and just kind of live your own life and have your own experiences, and put all that on a shelf, because 95% of it's fucking bullshit and fake. It doesn't really exist, and they're just pretending. There's pretenders out there, and I think to establish anything of value and of substance that has a good foundation, you can't take a shortcut. You have to learn the skill sets. You have to put the hours in and put the time in, and I think that that's something that is being lost upon the younger generation. I think that they feel insecure because they're seeing other people have success, or seemingly have success, and they don't have it yet, and they wonder why.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to touch on this also, that the fact that I know you said that ATA could have gone out of business multiple times, right? And I'm sure at those points it was easy for you to quit. What was it that drove you to continue pushing on and not taking no for an answer?
Just sheer belief, man. Just believing that I was doing the right thing, that Matt was doing the right thing. We believed that we had something, and we'd worked hard to get it as far as we had, and we weren't going to turn back. At some point, you get to the point where you're like, nothing's going to get in the way of making this work, and you have to have that kind of belief in what you're doing, and also yourself,
or else you won't make it, right?
Or else I think that most, like, you ever listen to Tom Bilyeu?
No, I don't.
Oh, he's fucking awesome, man. He has a not podcast, but a show on YouTube called Impact Theory, and he has some awesome quotes. But he said he built Quest Nutrition, and I think he sold it for $1 billion.
No, I've heard him on somebody else's podcast. I heard him on Chris Drama Path's podcast. He has one called Long Story Short.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Drama, right?
Yeah.
I had another buddy he was on Drama's podcast.
Oh really?
Kevin Sturdivant.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He has, gosh, I forgot the name of his podcast, but it's really good. But anyway, make a long story short, what were we talking about?
The impact theory, like.
Oh yeah. So he says all these awesome quotes by people, and one of his quotes was, when you have an idea and everyone thinks you're crazy for having it, you're either gravely mistaken or about to change the world. Wow. And I thought that was really cool. It's like, when I first started ATA, people thought we were fucking crazy. It's funny how, when I was successful, monetarily, I think that in society we tie so much value to that, and we associate aptitude and intelligence with the amount of money someone makes, and it's kind of sad because I experienced it firsthand. When I had a bunch of money, I was like the smartest guy in the room, right? And everyone trusted my opinion and sought for my opinion, and as soon as I lost my money, I was like the fucking dumbest guy around, so when I started ATA, there was tons of people that just would laugh and be like, oh, you're gonna sell animal t-shirts? Like, what the fuck? Oh, you're waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the Rose Bowl flea market? What are you doing? And I just used that as ammunition. I banked all of it, and
but those people, they didn't see your vision, right? Because it's
not
like,
at all,
obviously
not at all. Yeah, I mean, they didn't see it at all, and it wasn't until and unfortunately, like Instagram and social media is it's like the barometer, right? So people see that we hit like 100,000 followers, and then all of a sudden ears perk up, and they're like, oh shit, like you guys actually do have something. And
now that holds so much value. It's crazy.
Does, man. It does. It's scary. You
have 100K? Like, you must be a good company now.
Exactly. Like, you're not validated until you have that, and it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of the world we're living in. But you hit 200,000, and now I get 300,000, and people don't take you seriously unless you have that. So it's unfortunate because I was the same guy when I was starting ATA than I was 7 years before. In fact, I was more experienced. I was a better, well-rounded person at that point, and they just didn't believe that I was able to do what I said I was going to do.
You're only crazy until you do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or until it works.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So ATA has become to what it is now and today. Were there some major milestones that the company reached to propel it into what it is today? Like, is there any major breaks that happened?
I would say the biggest break for us came with production. Obviously, like, when we started our company, it was an absolute terrible time to start a company. To start a business in 2010, the economy had just collapsed, and no one was spending money. So it was like the worst time ever to start a company. But it was a great time to take advantage of social media and digital marketing. So it was kind of a duality at the time. And, it's been kind of like a slow growth, but back about 3 years ago, we did some consulting work for Max Muscle. They're a supplements company. And they saw that we had success with social media and with digital marketing, and they said, hey, can you guys help us out? So we went to their warehouse, and in the back of they had like this huge warehouse, like 50,000 square foot warehouse in Orange County. And we were walking around just trying to figure out exactly how we're going to try and help these guys out. And in the very back of the warehouse, there was like this little lady, and she had like this heat press, and she was pressing heat transfers. Oh. And I had never seen it before because, in the T-shirt industry, like we were screen printing everything, and we were doing everything like production to order. So it was like kind of a slow process. And I went back there and I'm like, holy shit. She had all these like different designs on heat transfers, and she was just pulling them off and pressing them. And I was like, oh my God, dude, this is game changing.
Yeah.
So we ended up being able to, implement that into our system. And that's what enabled us to try to really kind of start scaling quite a bit, because you can actually produce more orders.
Really?
Because you can move a lot faster. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say that. But other than that, dude, it's been like a steady growth over the course of the last, 8 years. Like you learn things one year, you get better the next year. And there isn't that one thing. We didn't go from, 0 to a million. Like it's been a steady growth, over the last 8 years. And it's just a day in, day out kind of just grind. But it's a good grind, man. When you love what you do, like you're not grinding that hard.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, especially for like longevity of a brand, right? Just to like, you've put in the work and seen it like come to fruition now, versus now there's a lot of influencers or brands that went viral for something, and that's why they're big, and then they're viral, they have that audience now, and then they just start selling merch, and it's just like kind of that 15 minutes of fame just dies off.
Yeah.
But
and I think that the whole climate, it's shifting right now. Like there's definitely a shift taking place because Instagram has adopted the algorithm of Facebook, right? So now you're in a situation where organic traffic is dying. 1 million followers isn't worth, today what it was a year ago, because only a fraction of your audience is seeing that. So now marketing dollars aren't being, completely piled into influencer marketing because the impressions aren't there like they were. So I think that it's a really interesting time to see what's going to take place and how all this like kind of plays out. Yeah,
definitely. Talk about some of the opportunities that have opened up because of ATA's success. I know you mentioned one earlier.
Yeah. So, we like I said, when you are underfinanced as a company, you get good at a lot of things. And because we got good at all those different elements or aspects of business, like other companies that are larger than us started asking us to help them with theirs. So it's kind of evolved into an agency, so to speak. So now we have like 6 clients that we've got on board now, and we've just established our agency. It's called Proper Creative, and we're building our website right now. But we're moving all of our clients over to Proper, and we're going to start just really trying to build that business and help other companies kind of do what we did. Like I think that by being able to stand next to ATA and be like, hey, like, we built this big fucking thing and now we can help you do it.
Yeah.
I think that it's reassuring. Like people understand like, okay, these guys actually have done it. Where a lot of agencies, we hired a few agencies along the way that we thought could help us, and they didn't do dick. Like they said, hey, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z for you. And then we spent, probably $50,000 over the course of 36 months. And finally we're like, dude, these guys don't even know as much as we do. So we brought everything in house and we started doing it for ourselves. And I think that there's a lot of companies out there that are selling a lot of bullshit. And I think that unless you've done it for yourself, then you really don't know how to do it correctly. Because, agencies, they say they can do something for you, and if they don't perform, then they just move on and they find another client.
Yeah.
For us, if we weren't good at what we did, we would die. So it's definitely a different motivation.
Yeah, for sure. And like their work, the ad agency's work ethic is not going to be anywhere near what yours is, because like you said, you're fighting for your livelihood. Like they're getting the money regardless. It's like a service at that point. And
absolutely. Like they lock you into like 90-day contracts or like, 6-month contracts for a reason, because they don't know how to perform, within 30 days. They don't know your business inside and out. They don't even know the landscape of e-commerce and what makes people tick, So I'm sure there's a lot of good agencies out there that do a great job, and I'd love to find one, but until
you're going to become one, right?
We'll just be one, yeah. Exactly.
There you go. Yeah. So what about collabs? I saw that you worked with Gary Vee, right?
Yeah, dude, that was
badass.
That was amazing. I really am a huge fan of that guy. That guy's awesome. He's providing tons of value for your entire generation, man.
100%. Yeah, he's building a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah. So they reached out. They were looking for smaller companies to collaborate with, and they were doing a big giveaway. It was a shoe giveaway, and he was releasing a shoe with K-Swiss. I think it was the Clouds and Dirt release, and one of his people reached out to us and asked us if we want to do a collab giveaway, and we're like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. He's awesome.
That must have been so cool to work with him.
Yeah, it was surreal, man. It was cool.
Yeah,
just to be able to collaborate on something like that with that guy.
Yeah. Him himself is an inspiration, but are there any like other entrepreneurs or people out there that like serve as inspiration for you and motivation?
Dude, like a ton. Yeah, I mean, even not so much even with business, just in like philosophy and approach to life and whatnot. Like Simon Sinek, if you haven't heard of that guy, you got to check him out. Joe Dispenza, that guy's awesome. I even listen to Tony Robbins, is awesome. Like I listen to more so like just life, philosophy, motivational stuff, and I think that can play a role in my decision making as a business person.
Right. Do you think that's important for people out there to take, like, kind of make it a habit of their everyday lives to find inspiration from an outsource, or do you think it mainly comes from within you?
I think it's a little bit of both until it becomes a part of you. Yeah. I mean, there's days when I wake up and I don't feel all that great, like I'm tired and just, I'm older. So you haven't felt this yet, but sometimes you wake up and like, playing college football, like your body hurts, man. When you're older, you're like, fuck. I
haven't felt that yet.
No, it's coming though.
My CT's about to start flaring up pretty soon.
So
here.
like, I mean, and you just have to do whatever it takes to help you shift your energy at first thing in the morning, to try and take on the day in a way that's going to be, conducive to moving you towards where you want to go, So, I listen to stuff. I mean, I'm constantly consuming. Thank God for YouTube, man, and podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I'm constantly just learning more and consuming stuff every single day. And, I do listen to just, modeling is important, I think. I think that, like, if you're passionate about doing something, it's great to find someone else that's already done it and, learn from them and just adopt, their I don't know, even like the way they speak and mannerisms and just the things that they're doing to find success. Because I think for me, and I just kind of like started learning this recently, is that when you find someone that you look up to and that you admire for achieving something, and you start like adopting their thought processes, you're adopting their frequency, like their vibrational frequency as well, because you're doing the same things they did. And I for me, I think it's really important.
Yeah, it's kind of like cheat codes of life in a sense. Like, why would you not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm big on like metaphysics and quantum mechanics and whatnot, and I think that it's important to make sure that you are vibrating at a frequency that's going to attract the things that you want towards your life.
Yeah.
So I think by modeling that helps you kind of operate at that frequency that you're trying to project.
Right. And you said earlier too, like, you can't just think things into existence and think that they're going to happen. But at that same, like, people who, I think it's dangerous because there's a lot of successful people out there who say, like, you have to think it and speak it into existence, which I think is true. Like, it all starts with a thought and an idea, but it's all about putting that thought and idea into action. Like, the reason why this person spoke it into existence is because they worked their ass off to make it actually come to fruition. Like, they didn't just think it was going to happen and then it appeared. Like, they worked their ass off to make it so that whatever goal that they achieved actually did appear.
Yeah, and I think beliefs are really like at the root of everything, right? So when you think something and then you start taking action, all it does is solidify that belief even more so. And you're able to just achieve the confidence or acquire the confidence in order to continue kind of moving that idea down the field. So I think that that's what helps. That's what helped us. You know, that's what
Yeah.
helped me is like, okay, I have this idea and I'm trying to think it into existence. And then you start putting work in and you start seeing the fruits of your labor and you're like, holy shit, like this works, you know?
Yeah.
So it gives you the confidence and solidifies your belief, I think.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of people out there, I think, that are like maybe a little scared to act on those ideas and beliefs that they have. But like you said, as soon as you act on one of them and then you get that confidence and you get that feeling of seeing it actually come to fruition, it makes the next step easier. The first step is the hardest step, right?
Yeah, it's like the unfoldment process, and then having that unwavering faith that what you're doing is the right thing. Because one thing that I've started to learn this year has taught me a lot, man. It's been a challenging year for us as a company. We're like a mid-sized company, so we're too big to make mistakes, and we're too small to go and get huge financing or get acquired, so like we're like in that in between. So it's been a challenging year trying to make sure that we're making the right decisions financially and trying to get the right financing in order to take those next steps and grow. So it's definitely something that you're always learning. Like I've learned so much this year, and we're like 9 years in, dude. Like it's crazy. It's been a long journey, but as you continue to kind of move forward, I'm learning these things, and it's helping me kind of just navigate my way into the next step and the next step. And there's this unfoldment, and then there's circumstances, and they don't matter whatsoever. Like that's one thing I'm starting to understand, is that like the world might be crashing down all around me, seemingly, but as long as I don't allow that to affect my decision making and the way that I feel, I'm gonna make it out of there. I mean, so circumstances don't matter. State of being is what matters.
I love that.
Yeah.
And me myself, I've taken that into my own life as well. I think part of what makes me, because this whole podcast and brand is all about positivity and growth. And I think in my own life, the way I radiate that is that I always know that like it's going to be okay. No matter what happens, no matter if I lost everything, no matter whatever happens, like I'm going to be good. Like that's my like aspect and my my philosophy about everything in life,
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like and I think it's hard to do because we're human beings, so like we're human beings. So like when something bad happens, naturally like we have this like physical reaction to it, and it affects our emotions. And you can have those reactions, and please just understand, I'm only speaking to my own experience. I can't speak for everybody, but just for me, like you have that initial reaction, but as long as I don't make decisions based on that reaction out of desperation and lack, I think that there's a refractory period where like you have that reaction, you let it process, and then you allow it to pass, and then you can get back to center and make a decision that's going to help you, move things forward in a way that's, productive.
Yeah. And you said it took you some time to learn that, right? Like you didn't just know it at first.
Dude, I've been listening to stuff since I was 25, 28, and it's been a long process. And I think the last 3 years I've really just kind of immersed myself into it went from like me listening to stuff every once in a while to like now, like every day, all day long, I'm just trying to just get as much information as I possibly can and just listen to as much as I can to other people that have achieved great things and listen to them and how they did it.
Yeah. I mean, every day you're either getting better or you're getting worse, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, with so much on your plate, like how do you not burn yourself out? What are some things that you do?
I hang out with my daughter. She's awesome, man. So like that allows me to unplug from what I'm doing. But I don't really get too burned out. Like sometimes I get tired and I'll sleep my ass off for an entire day. But I enjoy what we're doing. Like if it's part of me, like and I love the idea of building things and creating new verticals, and it's what keeps me going. So like I don't really get burned out. I mean, sometimes things get stressful and you find a way to deal with that stuff. But yeah, I would say my daughter keeps me kind of grounded and allows me to, understand that the time I spend with her, it needs to be unencumbered by the bullshit that I have going on in my business life. But, other than that, like I don't really need a lot of downtime.
Right. Because you're so passionate about what you do anyways.
Yeah, I really do like it.
Okay, cool. Going back to ATA, talk about like the charitable side of it. The whole like the brands you collab with, the charities?
Oh man, so like we've been in business for a long time, so we've worked with a ton of rescues, and we've worked with over 100 rescues we've donated to. We've collaborated and helped raise funds for a ton of rescues. So like I think the most recent collaboration we did was with Michelson Foundation, and then we have some coming up in the near future. We just help support Rescue Freedom Project. There's tons, man. And I feel bad for not. I mean, I can't just choose some of them because
there's so
I don't
many.
One of the big ones we worked with was Wildlife SOS. But yeah, I mean, these are people that they're doing amazing stuff. Lux Paws is another one we're working with. But like the one thing that was really eye-opening was that, you have, talk about underfinanced, like these rescues, like they have nothing, man. And they're putting everything they have into trying to save animals. So, it really does. It restores your faith back in humanity. You see these women that are going without cell phones and going without cable TV and satellite television. I mean, they're going without, man, and it's just so they can save one more animal. So I think it's really cool, and that's something that I'm proud of that we've been able to do and actually carry out, what we say we're carrying out. So yeah, it's been super fulfilling, man, and I dig it. And with our next endeavors, I think that we're going to be doing, a lot more of like philanthropic aspects to what we're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that you're doing all that, but your shirts are super cool too. Like
Thanks,
that's
man.
the main part of it. Like they're witty, they're like
Thanks, man.
badass.
Yeah, that's all like Matt and our designers. We have 3 in-house designers, and then Matt designs still as well. But yeah, I think like the simplicity of them. Like we do a lot of like the best-selling shirts we have on our website are all one colors.
Oh, really?
It's like one color silhouettes, and for some reason that's like what resonates with people. So we just keep producing them. But yeah, our guys it's a bunch of, fun people. And like Matt and I are like the oldest guys, and it's a bunch of young guys like you. So, they keep us young, and they're continuing to just, throw out just outrageous shit. And like we laugh and we make t-shirts out of it.
Yeah. You wouldn't know your age. You would think that you're like in your 20s still, with
dude,
the drive that you have.
You're hired, bro. Like
well, it's true. It's like the energy you like give off and like the
thanks,
drive
man.
you have. It's just like I've known you since 2010, 2009, something like that, and you're like the same person since then. Like you haven't changed at all from like what I
really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. What are some of your favorite things of like being an entrepreneur?
Man, I honestly I think it's more so just the possibility. Every morning when I wake up in the morning, like there's just endless possibilities. Like you don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I might get a call for this crazy collaboration that just is awesome for us. Might stumble upon this bitchin' design that's going to go off. Might find another vertical that's fantastic. Like I just think that like when you work a 9 to 5 and not taking anything away from people that work 9 to 5s, because I think that like that's awesome. Like whatever you do to provide for your family and build a good life for yourself is awesome. But I think different people have different personality temperaments, and me for one is I need to have the ability to wake up in the morning and not know exactly what the day is going to bring. And I think that that's the one thing that I really love about what I do.
Right, definitely. And the fact that you just work for yourself, it's pretty badass.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely a huge benefit, but just I think the element of just not knowing for sure exactly what's going to happen in that day, and that there is these possibilities that are out there. I think that's really what drives me and gets me up in the morning.
No, that's true. It's exciting. I'm very similar in that sense.
Yeah.
Like if I start to get confined into something that I'm doing, I start to get anxious. I start to get anxiety, and I'm sure that's how you start to feel too. Like I love the fact of not knowing like where I'm gonna be at in 2 years, where I'm gonna be at next year. It's like
absolutely
exciting. I can move to fucking Canada or something.
Yeah, if you want to.
I'm at a point in my life where I could do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you're 25.
25. Yeah,
dude, you're so young. That's awesome.
You're like looking back and like.
No, I mean you have so much time. You have so much time to make so many mistakes, and you have so much time to learn things and try different things. I think it's seriously it's awesome, and what you're doing here is really cool. I think that you just got to keep chasing this and continuing to have people on that provide value for your listeners, and just continue chasing your passions, and you're gonna learn so much, man. Like I
appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for all of it, and me myself, just like I spent, as you know, like a lot of my life I was an athlete, and I was playing football, and like all of my passion and all my time was devoted to football. So like I feel like I'm just getting started, because
absolutely.
I finally have like more time and energy on my hand to put towards things like this that I've always had a passion for outside of it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like when you, like, I played football in college, obviously, and I coached for 15 years, but, you know, every morning we wake up with a finite amount of energy, and we have to make sure that we use that energy kind of like currency, and we invest it in the things that are going to pay us, you know, dividends. So, you know, now that you do have all this extra time on your hands, you know, I would just be very conscious of how I expend that energy, and I treat it like money, like currency, and like, you know, whether it's a girlfriend or a friend or, you know, whatever those relationships are, you want to invest your energy into relationships that are going to be fruitful, and circumstances that are going to be fruitful. So I would just be cognizant of that, man.
Man, dropping gems. That is
none of this is mine, dude. It's all like YouTube. It's all YouTube and people. I think, you know, I've just soaked up as much as I can from other people.
No, I love it. It's definitely true.
Thanks,
yeah. So what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs out there that are looking to start a business, a brand, or just, yeah, in general?
Like I said, dude, I can only speak to my own experience, and it's a lot of cliche bullshit, but I think that you have to really sit down and figure out, is it really what you want? And is it something that you're going to be passionate about today and 10 years from now? Is it something that you believe in? Do you believe in yourself enough to really, you know, count the cost to do what it takes to make it work? Are you going to turn back? You know, those are things that, because there's going to be a point in time where, like, you're going to have to, like, defy logic, because everything's going to be telling you, you can't make it. Like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to just put logic aside and be like, fuck that. Like, I can make this work. And I think that unless you're willing to do that and get ready for, like, a fist fight in a phone booth, like, this shit is not fucking easy. Like, it is hard. And unless you're willing to just stick it out and just grit it out, it's not going to be like this overnight success, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I can only speak to my experience, but just with what I've experienced, like, that would be really the key. You got to ask yourself, do I want to do this in 10 years from now? And am I willing to do what it takes to get there? And just keep going until it works.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because if you're listening to this right now, like, it's easy to hear your success story and just to be, like, hyped up and, like, I'm going to go do this now.
Yeah.
Or to hear any other guests I've had on or going to have on to do it. But the fact of the matter is, not everybody makes it. Like, if you don't put the work in, then it's not going to come to fruition. I was working for Yelp last year in San Francisco for a year. And we had to learn a lot about just, like, local businesses in general. And Nielsen came out with this study, and it was that, I think, somewhere around, I don't know the exact numbers, but like 250 something thousand businesses open every year, and 250,000 something businesses close every year.
Yeah, man.
So
half the battle is just staying in business, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So it's very competitive in, I guess, whatever industry that you're going to do. But I love the fact that what you just said, you know, you have to have that mentality of just say, fuck it. Like, I'm going to go after this, and I'm going to do everything that it takes to make it happen. Yeah,
and just keep going. You know, over time, like, you'll find success.
Yeah. What about some of the sacrifices you need to make? Like, I know there's a lot, but...
Oh, fuck, man. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't even know where to start. Like, dude, yeah, I mean, there's times where, like, I have, like, an eviction notice, you know, that I'm going to frame at some point.
Really?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think in, like, 2012 or 13, like, you know, we couldn't pay our rent, like, you know, and this is after I had already been successful, right? So it's even more humbling. But I remember getting that eviction notice. And remember I talked about, like, circumstances don't matter, state of being matters. And I remember getting the eviction notice and thinking, and dude, I had just had a kid. And I was fucking panicked. But, you know, for a second I saw it and I freaked out. But then I thought, you know what, like, someday I'm going to frame this and I'm going to show people that, like, where I came from and, you know, where I've, you know, taken that too. So, like, like, it's fucking hard, dude. Like, it's not easy. Like, the sacrifice in every which way, your time, you know, sacrifice social life, you sacrifice money. Like, it's just, it's a grind. It's tough, you know?
Man, you got to frame that bad boy and put it up in the new shop. You have a new shop, right?
Yeah, we have a shop. It's like a 5,000 square foot shop in Arcadia.
That's awesome. That's a huge achievement for you.
Thanks,
can only
man.
Imagine. Yeah. As far as just, like, because a lot of the audience listening right now are mostly, like, in their 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it ranges from, like, 20 to 35 when I look at, like, the data and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the purpose of your 20s is? Because a lot of people think it's a time to be selfish, it's a time to have fun, it's a time to travel. But then there's other people out there who think it's a time solely to set up yourself for success when you're 30 and so on.
Mm-hmm. Man, I think everybody's journey is different. You know, I don't think there's like this blanket answer. You know, I do know that when you're in your 20s, I think it's one of two things. Either, you know, it's like two extremes, right? Either you're partying, enjoying yourself, or you're sacrificing and trying to build something, you know?
Right.
And I think that it's funny, when I was in my 20s, I had gotten that job with my brother, and I was working my face off, dude. Like, I was working hard, and I had a lot of friends that were out partying, and I was missing out on river trips. I was missing out on those things, but I was able to get to the point where I built something that allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do it, with whoever I wanted to do it with. You know, so like, I was sacrificing that point in time in my life. And did I miss out on experiences? Yeah, dude, I did. But I felt like I was building something that was going to allow me to experience life in a different way. But, you know, I think it's different for everybody. And I think that, you know, the people that are enjoying those experiences and having fun and not really worrying about building anything, I think that's cool. And I think that, you know, life will unfold for them in a way that, you know, it benefits their experience. But the people that are, you know, putting their heads down and grinding and trying to build something, I think that's fucking awesome too.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's so much harder now than too, because like when you were in your 20s, there wasn't really the aspect of social media for you, right? So like you were missing out on all these trips, but nowadays in this generation, people
are seeing it like firsthand.
Yeah, like it's in your face 24/7,
Yeah.
But it's so diverse. Like I know, like from just people I went to high school with, like a third of them are having families and babies, and another third are partying and having fun. Another third are like grinding, and it's just like, really, what do you value?
Yeah, exactly,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, like some people might value success, people might value the family life, and then who's to say any of those avenues are wrong? Yeah,
the only thing I would say is like, life is a marathon, man. It's not a sprint whatsoever. And you know, for me with my experience, you know, I experienced a lot of success at a young age, and then at like 34 years old, 33 years old, I started a T-shirt company and was selling at, you know, flea markets and waking up at 5 a.m. in the freezing cold. And yeah, it's humbling, man. And to think back, like, you know, why did I do all that shit? Like, that's just, it's crazy. Like, and it's humbling, right? So you go through all these life experiences, but one thing I do realize is that, you know, life is long, in my opinion. Like, you have a long time to be able to figure out what you want to do. You have a long time to figure out exactly what your niche is going to be. And I would just say, you know, work hard, figure out what you love, and just have patience, you know? Yeah.
I think that you actually just brought up something I watched from Gary Vee. He was just like talking about how like a lot of people are successful, they make it to their 40s or 50s and they think they made it, they can chill out, but he's just like, nah, it's fucking halftime right now. Like,
yeah, dude, like I'm so on board with that. Like, it's funny, man. I have friends that are like, you know, working their ass off, and just, they say these things like, fuck, you know, 13 more years and I can retire. And in my head, I'm thinking, fuck, that is fucked up. Like, you know, I'm thinking like, I'm going to fuck it up for another 40, you know, like I'm trying to like,
let's go.
Yeah. I'm trying to be 80 and trying to like continue to fucking make it happen, you know? So like, I think everybody has their own journey, their own perspective, but that's just mine. You know, I can't, like, can you imagine all the shit that you learn, you know, by the time you're 40 years old, and then what you can do with that for the next 40 years, you know? I think perspective is everything, beliefs are everything. So like, you know, if you have that perspective where like you're 42 years old and then you think, man, I can retire, you know, like, are you really working your life's passion? Like, are you really doing what you love? Obviously you're not, you know? So like, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the next 40 years, you know? Yeah,
that's great. That's a great quality to have. Not many people can say that. That actually brings me to my next question. This is my last question, so we're about to wrap it up here. What would you tell, like, if you could talk to a young 16-year-old you right now, what would you say? What would that conversation be like?
Oh, fuck, man. It's tough, dude. You know, I don't know. Like, 'cause you don't want to trade any of the experiences that you had. Like, your life plays out the way that it's supposed to, you know? So I would say probably the same thing, you know, be patient, be a better person, you know, like when you acquire success, just be a better person when you have those achievements. You know, I think that was the one thing. I think that if I would have, you know, stayed true to where I came from and who I was when I was making a lot of money, I wouldn't have had to lose it all to become a better version of myself. So I would have just given a heads up, like, hey, dude, you're going to do really well, and you need to stay a good person, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think that, like, I'm a good guy. Like, I like to think I'm a good guy. I think I was a good guy then, you know, when I was in my early 20s. But, you know, I think there was an arrogance about me, and I think that, you know, I understand why, you know, and I can't compare myself to people that are famous, but, like, I understand why people that achieve success at a young age lose their fucking minds, because, you know, it's difficult to continue to have a perspective, you know, when you achieve that success at a young age. You start thinking you're awesome, and I think that that's one thing that I would have told myself is, like, hey, dude, just stay grounded, you know, and you know, just continue being a good person and be humble.
Yeah, and we talked about this off camera too, just like when you made that first million when you were in your 20s, like it made you just think that making money is just cake work.
Yeah. Now, like, if you talk to me right after I lost it, I never would have thought it would have taken me a decade to get back in position to be able to make that kind of money again. Yeah, I thought it was going to happen a lot faster. I thought making money was easy, and you know, I guess, you know, I was a part of the market. You know, the market was a market for success, and, you know, I experienced it. So, like, it was an anomaly of a market, and I experienced it, and that made me think that I was special in some way. And the truth of the matter is, I worked hard and I capitalized on something, and you know, I had to kind of readjust my expectations. Yeah.
All right, I love it. You answered that very well.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Last thing, is there where can people find you or ATA on social media? And
just Arm the Animals on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Our website's armtheanimals.com. Proper Creative is going to be our agency. That website will be up in the next couple weeks. And that's about it, man. Yeah.
Awesome. Exciting stuff. We might have to do this again in another year or two once that agency's up, and we'll talk about it some more.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on here.
Yeah, no problem.